shape that people sometimes have a hard time cutting out is circles. You can cut them out by hand, but a lot of times they come out kind of ugly. But Steve here has a system to get a perfect circle nearly every time. So Steve, if you feel like sharing, I'd love to see your perfect circle trick.
Absolutely, I'd love to show you our perfect circle trick. So this is the Toyo Super Circlecutter,
Okay.
the TC6025. And what that means is actually it'll do a 25-inch diameter circle, 6025, that's why it's named that way. And this bar right here helps you determine what size circle you're gonna make.
Okay.
So it is demarked, and you'll see it's got 5, 7, 9, 11. That's the diameter of the circle you're gonna cut. So let's say we want to do a 9-inch diameter circle. Comes with this neat block. Pop the block on, and there's a chamfered little edge right here.
Okay.
You can see that, and I always
Yeah.
put that towards the inside, towards the middle. And then I move it to just where the 7 is on here, or the 9. Let's go to the 9. We're going to do a 9-inch circle.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep.
And then I'm going to lock it down. Oh, come on. There we go. So we're right on the 9. And it's in 1/4-inch increments. The other way to do it is draw a line on your glass and measure off. And then the suction cup, which is actually attaching to the glass, also has demarcations on it, so you can align it. And I highly recommend using those.
If you're trying to be specific.
If you're trying to be specific, yes. So it's got a suction cup, and Oceanside glass tile glass is so flat, most all of it, the suction cup will stick to it. And you can pick the glass up, so it's not going anywhere.
Dang.
Which is awesome, because then it's holding the glass in place. Another neat thing about cutting on something like the Morton system is I can lock this glass right into place, so I don't have to worry about it wobbling on me or moving anywhere.
Pretty important too for cutting circles at least.
It's just more convenient. I'm using the square down here to hold that end, and then I'm using 3 of them because it's a big piece of glass. You could also do it on a surface that's not going to move so much, you know, something that's got a little friction to it.
Okay.
Now this circle cutter is not small, it does occupy some space, so we got to check and make sure before we cut anything that it's going to make it all the way around. Oh, you already found one of our obstacles, yes. And we are clear, so that's nice.
Save the day.
That's right. Now another thing I'll do, sometimes if you're cutting textured glass, this is not going to stick. I don't care what circle cutter you have. The suction cup, if there's texture, air will get underneath, and suction obviously is the vacuum of the air up, so it's gripping on, so you're going to have to hold it. But it can move. One of the nice things about having the circle cutter here with these little marks is I can actually mark where those marks are, and if the circle cutter happened to come up during my scoring, I can just realign it and continue my circle, which I have done before, and it works great, believe it or not. So pop that back in there. All right, we're clear around. The other thing I like to do is, and I'm a fan of cutting with oil. We haven't talked a ton about oil, but the lubrication on cutting not only prolongs the life of your tool because it has less friction on the actual tool. It also helps keep the score open a little bit, according to some, so that it's easier to run. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I definitely find that it saves my tool. My tools last longer, and I find the scores are easier to make when it's lubricated. So now that I got a little oil on there, I'm just going to run the track around. This is self-oiling. You could put oil in there if you wanted to, if you were if you're doing a whole bunch, but one cut, I just put a little drop on there and we're good. I always start at one spot because I don't want to run over my score a second time. I put one hand or finger on here just for good practice, even though we saw it suck down. And then I'm going to start at 3 o'clock here with just light pressure. This tool almost cuts by itself. Yeah. You can hear the score line. Again, if I start seeing white popping up, I'm pushing too hard.
Okay.
So just all the way around. Bam, that's it.
So you can pop it out just like that.
Yes, just like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, right? We're gonna break into that building and we're gonna pop that glass right out. Almost. No. So one of the neat things, you know, everyone talks about, oh, so now you're gonna make those breakout score lines, right? Yes, but not yet. So one of the tricks to making really smooth circles come out of glass is to run the score first before you actually try to get it out. So I'm gonna move these out, and the way to do that is we have to get the score to run. So I flip it upside down and I use some sort of a surface that's got a little bit of give to it. This stuff works, shelf paper works, newspaper works, almost anything like that. I flip it over and I start in a corner because I have the most leverage on that point. And I'm gonna put my finger right on the score line and gently press. And you'll see the score start to run. Oh, I felt it. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, you didn't even barely touch it and it just
barely touched it. Some people like to only touch the corners after that. I like to chase the score, I call it. So I just keep going around and you can see it's running all the way around, right? So what that's done now is it has actually broken the surface tension all the way through the glass. Now it doesn't just pop out because we haven't removed any glass. So all the same amount of glass is still there holding it together. So that's why we're gonna have to do our breakout scores. But at least right now, it has broken completely perpendicular all the way through the glass. And now we're just gonna release it out.
Set it up in a way where it's going to break the way we want it to.
Absolutely. You can also, if it's a real hard glass, sometimes come back to the side we scored and give it one more little press. Oh, you hear that?
Yeah.
It's actually releasing itself.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up cutting only a 9-inch circle out of a 12-inch piece of glass. I could get away with less meat on the edge here if you're trying to save your glass so you're not wasting as much. I'd like to leave maybe a 1/2 inch of glass, something like that. You want enough to where it's gonna hold itself together so we can get this clean breakout. All right, so we're gonna move this out of the way.
I'm excited.
Now,
I'm excited to break this circle out.
Some people, there's 2 different ways to do your breakout scores. One is perpendicular.
Okay.
And the key to that is don't cross the line. You don't want to encourage your breakout score to run through your circle. So I always start at my score line. I feel it a little bit, and then I go away from the score line, right? Start again here and go away from my score line. And one more. The other way to do this is a tangent. And if it's a tiny circle, I will use tangents because what that does is I would start here at the line and come away. And that way when I run the score this way, it'll go around and keep going around. The downside is you may end up with little triangles right at that tangent point. But if we get this to run out, it's gonna be super clean.
Okay.
It's kind of high risk, high reward, right? So low risk, but more work. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and...
I think this circle is gonna break in our favor. Boom.
I think so too. So there you go.
Didn't even break that last score.
Nope. And there you go.
Perfect circle.
Yeah, and look at how straight those edges are. It's totally perpendicular.
You barely have to dust it.
There's nothing. I wouldn't even grind that, actually. That's ready to go. I would just clean that with some glass cleaner and you're done.
Wow. Well, there you go. That's how you make a perfect circle. Thanks for showing us, Steve.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Woohoo! And that's a wrap.
All right.